Hey, I'm Donald Bell for Cool Tools, and today we're going to take a look at 3 different types of deep hole marker. These are sometimes called pattern markers. They're really useful to have in your shop, but maybe you've been wondering, is there a big difference between the different brands? Well, today we're going to try to shed some light on that question, and you can find a link to all 3 of these down in the description. Now, real quick, why would you even need one of these? And the bottom line is that these are designed to fit into smaller spaces than you would typically be able to fit a pen or a pencil. They're especially useful if you're working with metal or square tubing and you want to directly transfer the pattern of holes from one piece to another. If the holes are tiny or there's a deep recess that you need to reach through, your Sharpie's not going to cut it. The other advantage is that you have something with a fine tip that's always ready to go. Now let's take a closer look at the pens. First, the Pica. This is actually the first marker of this type that I learned about, I think from an Adam Savage review. It's made in Germany and runs around $9. However, the only way I found to get them at that price is to buy them in a 3-pack on Amazon. So unless you feel like having 3 of these or giving some away as gifts, you may want to consider the other options. 2 cool tricks that are unique to this one. First, as described on the side here, if this starts putting down a weak line or the tip starts to get a little frayed, you can pull the nib out and flip it around, and this will give it a second wind. The other trick with these is that the top here has a slot that you can use to twist it off. This gives you access to the ink sponge, and sometimes you can revive these with some isopropyl alcohol to reactivate the ink. The bottom line is they've really made some effort here to extend the life of this pen and make it serviceable. Let's also note the length of the tip. From the thinnest part of the shaft, which is 2 millimeters across, all the way to the tip, we get 13.9 millimeters. The entire length of the metal barrel is 29.3 millimeters, more or less, and measures 4.7 millimeters at its widest point. Here it is marking wood, and here it is marking metal. There's nothing particularly different about the permanent ink it puts down, it's just a very well thought out package. Next up, we have this option from FastCap. It's the least expensive and the least chunky. As a bonus, it includes a chisel tip marker on the top. Now, for better or worse, this one has a proper cap that clicks into place instead of the quiver design of the other 2. And in theory, this should make it less prone to drying out. But then again, if you lose this cap, it's definitely going to dry out. And I mention this because the long cap can sort of go on the top, but it doesn't really snap in. The shorter chisel cap actually does pressure fit on the other tip though, although it looks kind of funny, but it works. My main strike against this one is that the tip isn't as fine as the other 2. It's alright if you want to reach through a hole and leave a mark for a screw, but the wider, blunt tip isn't as good for hugging the edge of something that you're tracing. Maybe they make a version with a finer tip, but this particular one is noticeably wider than the others. It also makes for a wider barrel, which measures 3 millimeters wide at the smallest part of the shaft, but it is the longest of these 3 options here, with the total metal barrel measuring 46 millimeters deep. I also just have to say, for style points, the FastCap seems a little plain and easy to lose. Here it is marking wood, and you can see that the line is a little wider than the Pica pen, and here it is marking metal. Finally, there's the Reach marker from DIXON. It comes in black, blue, green, and red, all with this neon green sheath that makes it easy to see. I will say that I don't quite understand the clip here. It's more like a loop. Maybe it's designed this way so that you can tie it to something. The pen barrel snaps into the quiver with a secure click, and the whole thing, both the quiver and the barrel, have a rounded off triangle shape that resists rolling around. The square barrel of the FastCap also benefits from this. The barrel of the Pica is perfectly round and will definitely roll if you put it down somewhere instead of putting it back in the quiver. The tip is fine like the Pica, but with a bit of a taper. The thinnest part of the barrel is 2.5 millimeters wide and runs 20 millimeters long before widening out to 4.5 millimeters wide. The total length of the metal barrel is about 34 millimeters to the tip. It's hard to say if there's a clear winner here, but there are some clear differences in the design of these. For me, if we consider the price essentially the same, I like the Pica. I like its funky look and all the emphasis on making it long lasting. The only downside for me is that I had to buy these as a 3-pack, and I don't need 3. If you're going for length, go with the FastCap. The DIXON here is a balance between the two in some ways, and it's the one that you're most likely to see in the store. If you see it and you're curious to see what these pattern markers are all about, I think it's worth picking up, even if it's just to add to your weird pen collection. So there you go. You can find links to all three of these down in the description, and you can find thousands of reader recommended tools like these at cool-tools.org.